there's a, like, you talk about being vulnerable. I realize there's a place and a time, like, I tend to just speak out my flaws, and at work to my boss, speaking my flaws, that's not a good place. That's not the place to do it. You know what I mean? It's like, no, Anthony, keep that to yourself, write it on your stuck list, meditate, then be grounded, go to work. Don't say shit to him, just do a good job, and then it'll work itself out, or it won't, whatever. But don't be like
Only
purposely
one
like,
thing you
yeah, I
gotta
fucked
do.
up, I did this wrong.
You don't have to worry about your job. You don't have to worry about whether you're good enough. You don't have to worry about paying rent. You don't have to worry about living or dying. It's all fantasy world, believe me. You only have to worry about, can I surrender right now to this moment and these circumstances? If you do, you're going to pay attention. You're going to clean the room. You're going to make money. You're going to pay your rent. So to have it the other way around, saying that, my comes from my job and so forth, doing a good job at my job, that's not how it works. Your worth comes from a non-cognitive experience of freedom with life, that you believe in yourself, you believe in others in some way that's beyond behavior, you believe in life, and you're devoted to that. And when you interrupt the cart before horse method that everybody goes by, you continue to evolve and become smarter. So then how could you not do better at your job and mature and have better habits? Of course you will. But when you put it the other way around, then you're in completion delusion. You're not ever going to be good enough or do a good enough. That doesn't exist. If you do good at that job, he's going to put twice the workload on you if you allow him. In other words, there's no end to measurement, each other, measuring yourself. And measurement is something that leads in dejection. Now, if you have grace in your life, if you have drive, not motivation or purpose or inspiration, drive, then measurement and criticism will have a proper place. But in and of itself, it's just degrading and it causes pain. But if you can't feel your pain, you might want that. Because you want to smack yourself because you can't feel pain. So now create more pain by, I can't deal with this pain. So now let me tell my boss about all my faults. At least my shit will be out there. Or let me blow my temper, because then at least I'll have some feeling of what's in here. So if you devote your whole life and you never look back, you're on the right track. Anything else, not acceptable. And you can't do drugs to get it. You can't do good at a job to get it. You can't make more money to get it. So that whole thing in your mind, it's wrong. If you think your way that you're going to become happier is to sell more samosas and do better at your job, you're going to be the same thing that everybody else is. You're just going to lose your intelligence over time, but you'll be able to pay your rent easier. You'll live in a hole. I did. You got to find out how to prioritize your own psychological and physical journey in life at all costs. And if you really make that decision now in a significant way, you'll find that you consistently gain the advantage. Now you can 5 years at a time or 10 years at a time or something, start looking long term. Then it'll be easy to look back and to see how you've evolved or how you've improved, things like that. Don't try to make today's assessment complete. Completion delusion is the confusion that we live under. I'm going to do better today. I'm going to understand what Will's saying today. Forget it. If you, I tried to say this somewhere, I forget. Oh, it was to do with some student lately, and they were saying about, things get easier and you have more clarity. And I gave the jiu-jitsu analogy. Okay, I got 3 stripes in jiu-jitsu, crazy jiu-jitsu, 3 stripes. What if I want to get a black belt? So that'll make all the rest of it a lot easier, But won't that be more challenge and more fear and more difficulty? So it always moves in cycles. If you want an easier life, you have to have a harder life. Now, it's going to be easier, but for you to not pull the covering off of what you're not facing in yourself, that's always going to be harder. So put that in your equation, because it's not active in your equation now. Completion delusion tells you if I do better in the job and I sell more samosas, now I'm going to be healthier and happier. There's no external solution for a personal problem. You're never going to do anything, learn anything, or get anything that's going to stop you from the process of removing the covering to what you need to learn, how you need to adapt, what you need to do different, where you're wrong. Stuff like that is a constant. That's the only one that survives, the ones that can do that. You have to be wrong, not understand, things like that. So if I want to get the black belt, isn't that a lot of be wrong? From 3 stripes to the black belt, it's a lot of be wrong, isn't it? I don't know what the elbow escape is. They keep saying elbow escape. I have no idea what they're talking about. So I wrote it down. Now I gotta memorize the different moves and so forth. More importantly than learning a skill, is you gonna fall in love and become happy today? What are you gonna not do and do? Can you have a little austerity to not drink too much or eat too much or smoke too much or whatever it is? Can you relax? Can you find peace of mind and stillness? Or is your peace of mind and stillness dependent on doing a better job? Selling more, that's true. So you can just know that you're incorrect in that. Abandon everything. The people went to an island and the guy was going to go to war, and they had like 100 people, and the people they were fighting against were like 1,000, and he burnt the ships, and he told all the soldiers, he said, you got no escape. He burnt the ships that they came in. He said, there's no exit, and they won. So you have to have no exit, no escape plan. Making money is not a proper escape plan. You think it is because the people that have it have tricked you because that's all they have. Emotional support is an escape plan. Emotional support by feeling loved as an individual. That's non-cognitive. It's beyond circumstance, independent of whatever's going on. That's an escape plan. Because now life, death, right, wrong, it all is within a context of observation. You're not in the measuring all the time. I'm going to get the chopper. It's going to make my things. Hope maybe I can get it today. Yeah, get the freaking chopper already. However, what you're trying to chop is your sin and your confusion and your sadness. You're not really trying to chop vegetables to make more money, because it's just a convenience. You can live there and have food. It's a convenience. It's a nice thing. Something that you can have, especially if you relax. If you trust that there's enough time today, and you trust that you can slow down and forget it all. The way to do better at the job is not better at the job. The way to do better at the job is to forget it and rest your mind. Then of course you're going to do better at your job, because as soon as you're well rested, you do better at anything. Dalai Lama says meditation is found in the best sleep, something like that. Sleep is the best meditation. Yeah. So how are you going to calm down? How are you going to remove the covering? How are you going to go? How are you going to make great contact?
When you're talking about
You
slowing
didn't send me any
down,
more money, Opinder.
I'm working on it. I really am. I'll be sending you something.
And then
A little
Anthony
bit
sent me
more.
500.
How much?
500.
500? I'll see what I can do. Got a couple more events coming up, so.
Whatever. I got to try it every turn. Otherwise, I got like 300 in the bank. So any now,
Yeah, everybody's dodging
nothing new.
everybody's
Nothing
dodging
new.
the virus over here now. It's like a plague over here now, finally.
Oh,
Yeah.
really? You got the
Yeah.
plague going? Cool.
We were like there was like no big deal, like whatever, and now it's like 600. That's a lot for this island in one day.
How many thousand on the island? 100,000.
No, there's about 75, 80,000 on the island.
That's a lot of people. That's a city.
Yeah, so it's like people are out. It makes it hard to work, right? Because the businesses only have a few people to work, and then when somebody gets sick and somebody can't, so so far in my work, we've kind of all sort of dodged a bullet. One person's sick, but no one was over there working with them. Another person's sick, but somebody wasn't working with them at the
But
same time.
I'm lucky in the sense, I'm well, not lucky, I shouldn't say that.
Mm.
There have been certain
Stop
businesses.
analyzing what you say all the time and just talk.
No, so, okay, well, some of these businesses that actually have a storefront, it's actually a good thing I don't have a storefront because they've had to close because if somebody comes in close contact, they have to shut down for X amount of days and then they reopen and then it happens again, then they have to shut down again. And I just had the realization, I was like, whew, I'm
Right.
so grateful. I just have the farmer's market and I'm outdoors, so I don't have that aspect to deal with, which is a
Thought is
blessing.
always going to be measured by the opposite. So you can't speak a word and expect to be correct. Because when you speak, the opposite is going to be
Hold on.
analyzed on the words. So you just say whatever. Totally free fall.
What is that?
I turn my phone off.
Somebody at the
Yeah,
door?
I do that. So you're saying to speak what I need to speak.
You just speak because you're never going to get it right. So just say what you want to say and understand that you couldn't get it if you had to. Then you can analyze how you could do it better at another time in meditation. When you're talking, it has to be a free flow with no thought about it. You can't analyze yourself while you're speaking.
That's so interesting you said that because for me,
You're doing it now.
As you
Yeah,
analyze
well,
yourself, as
that's
soon
what
as
I
you go,
know.
that's
Yeah.
No, I have to make the shift because it's taken me so long because I used to just speak what's on my mind and just say blah, just speak.
That's
And
better.
then I was told to stop. What's that? I have a quote. It says, "Stop, think before you speak." So it's like
Yeah,
this whole
that's very, very
process.
nice, but just speak freely. And
Okay.
then as you speak freely and are not suppressed, you'll be able to calm down and have the observer going while you're speaking, but it'll be before your mouth moves. But you mustn't suppress yourself as a way to get enlightened. If you discipline yourself by saying, I'm going to take a deep breath, that's only for a while. And then you've got to relax. So it's the same thing in communicating with others. You're never going to be good enough. So if your whole idea is I want to be good enough for him or her, or I want to be understood, or I want to be clear, then you're doomed to becoming repressed and a Fruit Loop, speaking in dolphin, because you can't ever then have a voice. You're going to have to disassociate from your mind because the relative world doesn't make sense. So and it only causes rejection and judgment. So you're going to have to run away to self-punishment, which would mean act like a weirdo and whatever.
Oh, so is that why I notice this happens a lot at work, especially I'll speak without thinking, I'll just speak and be myself. And then I'll get some kind of weird, like critical feedback. And it's not the feedback really, but it's how I feel about the feedback. Now all of a sudden I'm like, oh man, I'm stupid. And I started getting all this weird talk in my head. And so I realized that in the past, I would overthink and analyze to speak so that I'm speaking to where I don't get somebody telling me I'm stupid. Not that that ever worked really, but it was like a safety thing.
That's what
And
most
it
people
feels
do.
more that I need to speak and have that feeling of whatever I say, that's how I felt when I said it. And then whatever the response, if I get a feeling of I'm not good enough, or that's what I got to meditate on. That's the part. That's the part that has to like
Words
flow.
and thought and speech cannot be correct. So you can't say, don't think about what you say before you say it, because as soon as I say that, obviously you should be careful of what you say. In other words, the opposite is always there. So the broad-based truth is you've got to understand your voice and express it. The relative truth is all of these other definitions and understandings, like, I should think before I speak and things like that. But if thinking before you speak is primary, then you're only going to suppress yourself. So primary is feel loved exactly as you are. Anybody that doesn't like it, that's too bad for them. And express, if you're going to really fuck things up, then okay, I guess you need a muzzle. But basically, just be calm down, and speak. You're not going to get anything from anybody. You're not going to facilitate your agenda with anybody. The one you're looking for is you. The way you make money is you. The way you make intelligence, emotional healing is you. Everybody else is way down the line. but you're internalized in identifying with the approval or rejection from the other person, like everybody is. That doesn't work.
So it feels like that is a disease, putting so much energy into caring what other people think.
Total disease. It
Feels like a
ruins your phone.
disease to me. I can feel it make me sick.
Well, you have to suppress yourself.
Yeah.
Because how am I going to be acceptable to you? I can't. So I've given that up. I understand that I'm judgeable. You can point your finger and judge at me and be very right about it. Plenty of behaviors, plenty of things wrong with me. So I don't need to prove myself to you.
So there's nothing to defend. I'm hearing the word transparent. It's like just being transparent, and that's transparent and vulnerable. It's like, I got nothing to defend. You're gonna judge me no matter what.
Yeah, pretty much.
So what's
because that's what everybody does. Yeah.
And everybody does most of the time, somewhere in some way, shape,
Other
or
than a
form.
sage, a saint. Sage or a saint, they love you, and that's the end of the story. They don't do that part.
Well, that's the power of the zero then, because the more you meditate,
He
the more I
died.
meditate, and the more I enter the zero space for little split seconds or whatever, even the in between, right at that level. When I walk out in the world and I say something and someone barks at me or whatever, I'm like, okay. I don't react. Like I feel it, but it's not like I did something wrong, but I did something wrong, but doesn't affect me to where I'm beating myself up.
The world is a heat-seeking missile. Personalities and forms can never be correct. So don't place your faith in any of those. Only place your faith in the Atma.
Oh, so the same way that I can never be correct, anyone that might say something to me can never be correct either, right? So why would I?
In the relative world, yeah, there's only one community of people. There's sages, saints, the ashram, and discipleship. That's reality. If you look at logic and you see who's the most evolved people, who's the leaders of the human race, is sages and saints. So therefore, the schoolroom and the authorities and the elders are those people. So you're trying to identify with animals is not going to work unless which is people, unless you're relating to the Atma with them and you're suffering and you're in service and you're enjoying the Atma with them. That's great. But people, ordinary people, and the world of personalities and forms, any personality in any form is only attraction and repulsion. It's only relative, right and wrong, and disease and health and all these things. On a global scale, all of that is working together for the good of your evolution if you are calm within yourself, taking the messages of life to evolve yourself. So the main message of life is that you're loved and you're graced and you're going to be healed and enlightened. You can't change that no matter what. So you start to just be a little humble towards that destiny that you have. That is your destiny. That's the destiny of an amoeba and a fish, an ape, and us. So you start to understand about grace, non-cognitive. I'm going to be healed. I'm going to be enlightened. It's going to be okay. And now your mind goes quiet. And you take this life that you're in as some kind of a schoolroom movie picture. It's not that interesting anymore. Life and death and personalities and gains and losses and being wrong, being right, because you're going to be wrong. You got a lot more wrong decisions that you absolutely are going to make. You're going to be revealed as being stupid as a brick many, many thousands of more times. So if you're trying to avoid that, then you're not real. If you're trying to avoid death, you're not real. So the whole thing of being in process becomes okay, because you have it in your mind that I'm going to get it right. I'm going to listen right, and I'm going to speak right, and I'm going to do better. But that's not grace giving you drive, giving you power. That's measurement giving you drive and power. And it just doesn't hold up over time. It degrades you because it's always measuring. If I do good enough at work, I'm going to feel better. If I sell enough mimosas, I'm going to feel better. It's always external seeking. I'm going to be somebody. Well, you are somebody. I'm going to become somebody great. Who the hell cares? You're busy. You're busy shitting in the toilet and eating food and lots of very simple things. Sweeping the floor, living and dying. You're living and dying. So what are you worried for? Mommy, daddy, sister, brother, society, world. It is all part of a mosaic that gives you the opportunity to gain more clarity, more coherence, if you are in fact a consummate student.
That's how I reinvent then, right? Constant reinvention. It's that
The
process.
reinvention at this stage in the talk is given up. You don't need to change anything. You have to forsake change to change, but you can't really all the time put math to it, because just the idea of I'm going to do this so that I can become better, will thwart the process. In the Vedas, they talk about how you must not think of the product. You can have no fruits of the action. You have to give up the fruits of your action. In other words, if you give a samosa to somebody, you have to not want anything for that.
It's like what
If
I'm
you-
hearing.
Yeah.
What I'm hearing is being, I am gonna use the word being in a flow instead of going. To me, when you're in grace, when grace is coming through, there's just a flow. There's no like, I'm gonna get this or I'm gonna do this to get that. You're just in the doing from your heart or whatever, just doing, and these things just start happening. Or
Yeah, you just give up your future, give up your
You-
life.
there is no
If
like,
you do
hey,
that, it's going to be really good today.
okay.
But don't try to teach anybody. Just give up your life and let the other person pursue their own life or death, because both of you and me are going to be dead. Everybody's going to be dead. We were watching the Eternals last night. I saw it's a neat kind of a thing. It's like these supernatural people that are caring for the earth, and like the human race is not learning, and the one guy has the power to use his mind to stop all the wars, and he does for a while, and all these neat things. And the idea of the fear of the end of the earth and the fear of death kind of came out while we were watching it. And I said, I really don't understand that. You don't know that the sun's going to destroy the earth. You don't know that you're going to die. So what do you know then? I'm speaking to everybody, but we were dialoguing about these issues. I got to be good enough. What can I do to be good enough at the work? If I get do it a little better, have my temper a little better, if I could be a little nicer, like with this guy, I could end my money problems, but I must be authentic to the path. And the path tells me if somebody says they're going to send me a link at the end of the next session they're doing in a couple hours, and they never do, and the next day they never do, I already know they're half. That means they don't respect, honor me at all. And I'm talking about life and everything. So I have to take that into consideration while the carrot dangles in front of me of if I do a better job, if I'm nicer. So yes, I want to be nicer. Yes, I want to be more calm. Yes, I want to do a better job, but not to the expense of my process. I'd rather go in the opposite direction and say whatever and lose my job and lose the whatever. Now, if you can get a little angle on this today, you can realize what I'm saying, that if in fact, like I have this going with the guy, if in fact you understand that people are very distracted and they're not really spending their life trying to honor you, which is I think what we're supposed to be doing with each other. A lot of energy and a lot of time to take into consideration the other person's experience of life. And, if you say you're going to be there at 12 o'clock, be there at 12 o'clock or 12:30. Don't make people wait, maybe a little while. Or if you're a teacher, you make them wait. But you've got to, you got to be always trying to be compliant to the Tao, to the path, to do it better. But listen, this is something that's of the world of process. And the Enlightenment teaching is that you're going to fall in love and become happy now. You're going to slow down now and release stress now. That's the purpose now. You're going to slow down time now. So there's not I'm going to do better with whatever so I can get something. That's not part of now. The now priority is you're going to relax, you're going to receive energy, you're going to be cared about, you're going to be interceded for. The bad shit is going to come out of you, the good stuff is going to go into you, and keep making the list. Whatever is definitions for how you're going to experience more healing now, and forsake everyone and everything else. So only if you do that process can you come back from that process and say, you know, the chopper, I can get a $20 chopper to do the job. Great. I'm going to go buy the chopper. I got a $10 chopper, not even an $8 chopper at the dollar store. It works great. It's $8, $7 even. It was something, I think it was between $5 and $10. Not more than 10. I know that. It wasn't 10. It was between $5 and $10. Works great. Works for 2 years. So all you got to do is follow direction, go buy the chopper. You don't need to think about anything. You just got to go follow direction. So when you have the humility to kind of trust a little bit, even though I know it's not as nice and it's a different energy and all that, but that's got nothing to do with following direction.
Mm.
If I'm right in giving you the direction, which I believe I am, otherwise I wouldn't push the issue, then you're going to overcome that stuff. It's still a knife going through the blade. You can going through the vegetable. You're going to put the nice healing energy in there. You're going to get done so much faster. It's silly. You're going to giggle and pee yourself. It was the first day you use the thing. But it all comes down to being compliant to following direction for how you're, not how you're going to buy the chopper. That's after, but how you're going to meditate. Because once you do that, then this other stuff, it doesn't have 20 years of thought involved. And then your old woman. It's 2 years, I'm telling you, to buy a chopper. That's why following directions and authority is absolutely vital. Elders and stuff is absolutely vital. Oh, such a wonderful thing. Jonathan Livingston Seagull. You remember that film? Did you see it?
Yeah.
Mhm, yeah, we like that one a lot.
We were watching it the other day in the morning devotions, and Jonathan is just getting up into the new level, and he's flying. He said, I can't fly any higher. And Maureen says to him, oh, but I want to introduce you to the elders. And he says, that's the last thing as long as I live, I want to see another elder. I don't want to see another elder, because everything that spoke authority to him on the world was taking him in the wrong direction. So your mind is formed in not following directions and not respecting elders, is not obeying authority in terms of real elders. Baba, I'll call him Hanuman, your great grandfather, Baba Hanumanji. I was listening to him with Andrea the other day. Wahi Guru, Wahi Guru, Wahi. He's my new bra. Wahi Guru, Wahi Guru, Wahi Guru, Wahi Guru, Wahi Guru, Wahi Guru, Wahi Guru. So that's an elder. But in the movie, Jonathan Livingston Seagull said, last thing I want to see is an elder. So your mind has it only internal, external world. I need to understand work. I need to understand others. I need to understand her. I need to understand him. I need to understand whether she get the chopper or not. I need to understand. It's just a waste of time. Geniuses don't think. I'm not thinking with all these smart thoughts. I'm just sitting here. And the power to respond to you is coming from you. You're providing the power. So if you're receptive to the scenario of work and the scenario of making samosas, you're going to have power to make better decisions, to listen better, to speak better, and to act better, to have a better strategy. In the physical world, it's all war. It's all strategy. If you do better at work and do better than the next time with this and that and the other, if you could sit quietly with the subject, you could find the next strategy. There's always got to be a new angle and a new strategy, because it never works. You can only try, and then maybe you get a little more calm. Maybe you bring a particular pen or like a box of pens, so that when people steal them from you, you can just replace. Like 30 pens cost $3, right? $2 Walmart. And you have this particular pen, and the pen relates centered on the stand. If you're the host guy, where they come there and the pen is there, then somebody steals it and you replace it. It's a little game you play. So you're gathering all the power. You think they think they're stealing your pen, and really you already knew that was going to happen. All the pens go out into the restaurant, to them cost you $2 every 3 weeks. And every time you see the pen and you work with that pen, it is Waheguru. You just say it one time. So that's what you do. You trick yourself into being healed. A new event, a new teenager to help you. That would be the best kind of person to help you, who could work for food for an hour. You know, you got to have 5 teenagers, and, you know, one of them chops the vegetables with the chopper for 30 minutes, and you got all the vegetables for the next 3 days, and they get paid $10 or something, or they get paid 5 mimosas. In other words, the strategy will happen if you can become receptive to the forum. What's the forum going on here? Well, the forum in this particular place and time is, how do I upgrade my intelligence? How do I increase my processing speed? How do I become more emotionally supportive of myself and other people? How do I have more hormonal nectar? How do I have more balance and groundedness? How do I have more focus? You've got to establish your curriculum. So those are values that should be part of everybody's curriculum. Those should be the curriculum topics of school. How do I sleep? How do I wake up? How do I sex? How do I drink? How do I eat? That's all you got to learn about in life, is this stuff. Because then your intelligence skyrockets. You want to be the master samosa maker or the master host, you're going to be that. A child learns how many times more effectively than we are. If you have the energy and the spontaneity of a child, you can make repairs. You can become more focused. You got to get your glow on as like a job in life. Your survival depends on the readaptation, but the readaptation depends on no change. I'm not going to change anything right now. I'm going to go to the mountain. I'm going to look at everything for once. That's what meditation is. You become silent, quiet.
That's like yesterday. Well, you just said become quiet and silent. Yesterday, it was interesting. It took a lot, but I had a plan of doing prep and this and that. And then I was like, no, today I'm not going to do anything. And the mind for a while was like, oh, but you got to do this, you got to do that. And I was like, no. And I told Anthony, I'm just going to take a nap. And I did. And I went outside and I sat on our bench outside, and it was just quiet. And I realized I'd done like tidbits, 5 minutes here and there, but I actually just sat outside in our yard, and it was so quiet. And I could hear the wind in the trees, because we're all surrounded by trees and flowers. And I was just noticing all these things. And it was just a moment of just silence. The birds were flying by, and
you have to trust that.
What was
Everybody
that?
tells you that that's not, you have to trust that. Everybody tells you that's not allowed, but obviously you and nature are together, and all geniuses have this pondering, contemplative lifestyle, yet they're the most productive. So even though everybody tells you never do that, you have to chop the vegetables and get on with your business, don't believe one word, because there's no genius, there's no enlightened person that does not do that. All the people that are the most productive, the smartest, and the healthiest have lives of contemplative reserve, and they take time to trance out with a butterfly. And we see TV, and we see that that's how the shamans roll. Now, since you're a modern gal and a modern guy, you're going to take that power and be right on target. I'm going to show up to job, and I'm going to take my position. I know I'm going to be there 3 hours, and I'm going to kick ass in healing this place and destroying, without them knowing it, anything that is a disruption. Because that's what you got to do in the physical world. When I could do it, when you go to make your vegetables, you get the chopper, and you're gonna do it in a quarter of the time or something. You
Yeah,
can
Anthony's
chop the meat.
parents, Anthony's mom and stepdad got me another. They got me another Instant Pot for Christmas. So now I
Good.
have 3 Instant Pots, so it cuts my time in half for making the chicken curries. I'm like, whoa, how easy is that? And they got me thinking to the chopper and to getting the people to help me. I'm like, wow, if I can get somebody to help me with the chopping, that'll cut that time 4 hours into 2 or 1, pay them the money, free my time up for other stuff.
$10, that's one sale or something.
Yeah, and so they can do
Well,
that. So
tell them
it's-
I'll give you $10 and I'll give you 3 samosas when they're done.
Yeah,
Samosas
people-
are worth $7 a piece or $5 a piece, and so they get $25 for a half an hour of work.
Anthony thinks of everything in samosas when I think about money. I'm like, that's, because paying 2, and he's like, babe, that's only like 10 samosas. No
Oh,
big deal. Just make
samosas
20
are money now.
20 samosas, $100.
She has like 3 choppers, but we haven't found the right one yet. I got her food
Oh.
processor, got her a couple different ones, but
You got stuff already for
we
it?
got food processor, yeah.
Food processor,
That's not
I
what's
know
gonna
what
work.
it is. Just being honest, it's my resistance to doing it differently. That's what it is, because I'm so used to, it took me, I don't know how long to trust the Instant Pot, because I was so used to doing it in pots, like old school style.
Mm.
So I had to
Oh.
go, okay, it's okay. Instant Pot will work.
What's Instapot?
Instant Pot's
Pressure
like,
cooker.
it's a pressure cooker, but it's amazing. It's like
Oh.
it's Instant Pot. You can make rice, you can make curries, you can make vegetarian dishes, you can make rice pudding. But for
Mm.
me, it cuts the time in half, and you chop everything up. Like, it makes the chicken curries amazing because the meat comes out just perfect, and you don't have to
Mm.
monitor it. You basically put in the main ingredients, you put in the you put in the chicken, whatever you need, and you close it. You put it on pressure cook, and you can do other dishes while that's going. And then a half hour later, you have this amazing curry.
Yeah, it's like a hyper speed crock pot.
Mm.
Hyper-speed.
Everything gets absorbed, right? So it makes all the flavors.
Yeah,
compressed
and
into
the
the chicken.
flavors come out so good. And I finally
Yeah.
have a friend that showed me how to, she's actually, Shantae, taught me how to make my vegetable biryani in the Instant Pot. It cuts your time down from like an hour and a half to a half hour. But in my mind, again, the resistance was the vegetables are gonna come out soggy. But I had to be like, okay, let's just play with it a little bit and
Mm.
be willing to adapt and change. And the biryani's been coming out amazing. It's like the
Mm.
Indian version of fried rice, but not fried. And the flavors just come out amazing, and it cuts my
Mm.
time in half.
That's delicious.
So now the
Great.
choppers, yeah.
Yeah, so now you just gotta, we have I got her the nice food processor, but if we get a potato chopper, like we saw in the video, the people in India, they have this giant machine, they throw all the potatoes in, it peels them, and then they have one that chops them. But that's like for like feeding thousands of people a day.
They
It's
make
pretty
them
cool,
in the villages. Anthony watches video of this auntie and her son making like 1,000 samosas.
Oh yeah, they're going
It was a
on.
YouTube video, but they had a machine. You pop the potato in and it peels it, and then they chopped them, though, didn't they? I
I
think.
thought they had a chopper.
No, they boil them.
Oh, they boil them and then chop them,
Then they chop them.
mush them.
But that's important. I was gonna say is having that time cut in half
Oh yeah, because
because
you only chop them because you need to mush it. You need to smash it. It makes it easier to
they're
boil.
easier to boil.
Yeah.
Old school. If I
Potatoes
have
is a big deal.
the potatoes are the biggest thing that I cook.
Yeah,
With. I
both.
do like
Potatoes.
I chop like 30 pounds of potatoes at
Oh.
least a week or every other week.
Yeah. Potatoes
So-
and onions.
Potatoes,
All you gotta do is pour them in the thing. Are you silly?
pour them in the chopper
The
thing.
food, yeah. What do you want? You want cubes? They have different
Cubes,
blades.
tiny
The food
cubes.
process you
Like
have.
1-inch cubes.
Okay, so 1-inch cubes. You can make that somehow. Like you put one blade on and it'll
Uh-huh.
slice it all. I don't
Mhm.
know. There's a way. Let me see.
There's got to be a way because there's one blade that aims up, right? So it's like a top blade. It just cuts part of it off. And one that aims down like a regular blender.
Okay, so help me.
I'm trying to figure it out. I mean, we got that food processor. I think
I
they
think I
have,
need a bigger one.
yeah, or ones that actually have they make squares. I'm sure that they have them somewhere.
That's what I was gonna ask. I have to. leave chef a message and he'll know exactly what I need.
That's 3 days ago.
I know I didn't call him.
I'm not tolerating this anymore. New video, potato cube chopper, automatic.
I'm gonna
There you go.
message chef right now too.
I'm
Yeah,
sure it
just mess-
exists, obviously. We saw some lady in India with a peeler, which I was like, whoa, a potato peeler machine?
Into the next level.
Sounds good. Why do you have to peel it anyway? Oh, this is gonna be $1,000.
Actually, I don't think she does peel them, do you?
Nope.
She loves the skin on. I just encourage her to clean the skin. That's all. That's all my 2 cents.
Okay.
Wash the skin. That's all I ask.
I don't do the peels either. I don't peel it. I make this great crispy potatoes.
Yeah, it's got a good crunch to it, like, and it's mostly even, and a little bit of skin.
Really?
Yeah, it gives it
That's
texture.
unique.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is. Got your potato cuber, $35. I think. Chopper, vegetable. I don't know if that's gonna work. Oh, this one's 89. Vegetable potato slicer. That's slicer. I think we need something pretty strong looking. Electric French fry cutter. French fries. What's this one? Commercial vegetable fruit dicer. Well, that's $200. This looks like one at a time. Dicer. Where's the cuber? Let's see. Potato vegetable cuber.
And again, I mean, I have to figure out it's, hold on. The way that we do it,
You could actually,
there could be a different way for me to boil them.
you could actually use the French fryer. I just got an idea, because if you put the potato in, it makes
Oh.
French fries. You throw the little French fries and you boil it, and then you mash that up. Because all you're gonna do is mash it in the end anyways, for most of your stuff. For
All you're
most of
doing
it
is
it needs to
mashing?
be- Yeah, so she's just cutting it so it
Well,
boils
what do you got to
easier.
cube it for?
To
I
boil
don't-
it
I make
easier.
Mashed potatoes.
Boil
I
it.
don't cube it.
So
I boil
what
it, I chop it in 3 pieces, I put it in a big bowl, and I have a thing and I go like this. You buy it, I have a plastic one, you buy a heavier
Yeah.
one.
I have
And it
a
all,
massive-
if you boil it long enough, it's all mush anyway.
Mm.
You
But
don't
the
need to
amount
cube
of potatoes that
potato.
I'm boiling, because
Oh.
usually traditionally what you
It takes
do is
longer.
you chop the potato, like you said, in quarters or whatever, you throw them in and then you mash them up, right?
Oh,
But
yeah.
for 30 pounds of potatoes, if they're chopped smaller, they boil quicker. The
Oh,
smaller.
well, I
pieces
cut it,
they
before.
are-
I cut it in like 4s, the
Yeah.
potatoes.
Yeah, I cut them into small, like little chunks, because then I have a big pot of like 15 pounds of potatoes and the other pot has 15 pounds. And then,
More than 4s?
yeah, I chop them into teeny tiny cubes.
I don't think you need to do that, because I cut them in 4s and I know you're talking about different things, but let's just talk about it. So I've got a big pot here and I've got 20 potatoes in there.
Mhm.
Because I like to cook,
Mhm.
and I was the head cook for the Guru of the Beatles before I was the head of security, or the other way around. No, I was head of security first, then I was the head cook for all the monks and nuns. And I was the head cook for the Master Chen, the world's top, the only cook, both instances, the only cook. For the Guru of the Beatles and that retreat center, maybe 20 people, I cooked lunch and dinner every day
Mhm.
and cleaned up for 20 people. And it was always different. And then for the Taoist Kung Fu master and maybe about 10 people, cooked again 2 meals a day. Anyways, you got 20 potatoes, and maybe I'll cut them in 4. There's 20 potatoes in a pot like this. And then just cut in 4, I take them out. They're so mushy, it's no problem to make mashed potatoes.
Mhm.
Doesn't that
Yeah,
work
you
with
could
bigger
save a
How
amount?
many potatoes you see in that bag?
I
But
don't
if
know.
you got a giant pot, it's still gonna be mush, is my point.
Yeah, so
Okay.
you could even save one step, cut it in 4 and then cut that in half, and then you make them smaller, but you save one whole step.
I don't think that there's any reason to cube them as far as I know, anyway. Just to
I-
say, explore it.
Except for the mixed vegetable, that's different, but for
Yeah.
samosas, definitely, there's no need.
If
to
it's
mash.
mush, I mean, I experimented with exactly the kind of thing you're talking about with making mashed potatoes. And I finally concluded that I barely have to cut the thing in 4s. Maybe I'll even cut it in half, because if I've got 15 potatoes in there, they're total mush. If they're in
Yeah.
there for 30 minutes or 20 minutes, they're like total mush. It's not like way cooked enough. And I just do it like that, and it's way cooked enough, and then I just and it mushes easy. You got vegetable slicers here for French fries, $42. I don't know if that works at all. Oh, you know what? I think I see. Maybe this is a cuber. This is manual, but oh, that looks like cuber to me. I don't know if this works, but check this out. This is like $40, $50 kind of a thing.
Yeah, one of
and
those presses.
That's what we used to have.
It's sturdy.
A potato press thing, whatever.
Well, anyway, it looks like it's, you can find, you need the cuber for the vegetable thing, right? Anyway.
The mixed vegetable stuff, yeah, when it's not smushed.
Let's see about
Aligobi,
this one.
right?
See what the reviews are. What's this thing? 170 ratings, 5 stars.
Differently.
I'll try.
Or to try, save your shoulder a little bit, you know?
Well, I'm making a batch tomorrow. Tomorrow, I think, yeah.
Looks kind of cheap to me. Holiday.
It's got cool music with it.
We're fussing with Holiday. William has moves, Anthony.
Yeah, anyhow, take that.
Of course he has moves. He's a Qigong master.
Qigong master.
He's got my old Tai Chi, he'd always call it cough. He's like, can you play some music that makes you move from your cough?
Oh,
I guess
yeah.
the cough is like what below your belly button area, whatever, the dantian, whatever the names are for it. So he'd always ask me to play music that stimulates his cough. And he'd be like, show me. He's like 80 years old, 85. He's always dancing out.
Can you do this? Let me see.
She can.
You can
No,
do it a little bit. How about just this? then?
It's like, we saw this woman at the bank. She was 90 years old today. The old
Yeah.
lady, she was still driving.
Yeah, she's
Little
impressive.
Hawaiian auntie. She was
Yeah.
just like,
Ah.
she was cute.
Yeah.
If you go in this direction more, like every time it doesn't work, right? Like you dance around or whatever, and it doesn't work. Can't move my neck enough. I don't got the moves. You think about the chopper and you're like, oh, the hell with it. I know what to do now. I'm just going to do it. So whatever you do doesn't work. But if you start over and keep going, you might get a miracle. Video's off. I'm big on miracles lately.
Start over.
Yeah, just start over. Like every time, 10 minutes into your own practice, or when you're outside and you're sitting in silence and you want to go inside, start over. Relax more. That's the only thing you have to do in life. I know it doesn't make sense, but if you could find a way to become centered, precisely centered, that's the only solution, because you're then self-sourcing. And that's what you want to find. You want to have an overflow of energy in life, not a squeeze.
Hmm.
And you can live that way if you devote yourself to the inner world, not the outer world first, the inner world first.
But I had the aha yesterday when I was sitting out there. I was like, oh, the path advancing appears retreating. It's like,
Yeah.
but it was like such a tangible feeling. Yeah.
Yes. So hard to realize that.
I know. I do something and I stumble and I fuck up. Instead of starting over, I say, fuck, it sucks, fuck it, and I move on. And it's the exact opposite of what you just said.
Well, that's what we do.
So starting over.
Well, we're going to fail, right? So if you know
Yeah.
that you're going to fail again, you don't even have to worry about getting it right, because
Yeah.
that's not part of the instruction. Getting
Got
it
it.
right is not part of the instruction of life, because life gets it right through you. You yourself, as a subject, object, internal, external strategist, scientific analysis, labeling everything. That's not the free spirit of the child that knows and learns and has happiness and has quicker metabolism. You see what you could learn now. Let's go.
Yeah.
Babaji, come on, let's celebrate. It would be.
There he is. Mr. Livingston.
I like him.
Video's on.
Oh, yeah. Mm. Mm.
If you could get back to spaciousness, silence, timelessness, all that, that's the only thing you need. Because now you're going to do better in your job and you're going to be better in everything, right? So the only thing you really need to focus on is how am I going to get back to center? How can I face this life and these people and this environment and these circumstances and have faith and just relax and don't demonize anyone and protect myself? How? That's the only question you need to have your whole life.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Bubble.
Bobble?
Ah,
That was powerful. There was a point I had a memory of, I feel like I didn't even share this, of when I was a kid and I was sitting in my room. I think my parents were fighting because they used to fight a lot. And I remember sitting there on the bed and crying and talking to God.
Bless
And I
you.
remember, and I remember saying to God, I remember the conversation. I was like, God, you must have made a mistake putting me with this family. I must be adopted because I'm not like them. Like, why did you put me with this family? I don't look like them. I don't act like them. You made a mistake. And then it was like, well, maybe you put me here so I could help them or something like that. Like, that was just a very tangible like memory. I remember just crying, just being like, you messed up. I don't belong here. They're the wrong family. You put me, and then just getting this thing like, oh, maybe you want me to help them because they don't know what they're doing or something like that. Not they don't know what they're doing, but just the energy was so different. But that came through so clearly at the beginning there. So I wanted to share that.
When you have a little bit of clarity because of some great contact, karma is going to come up in your biological biography. And now you have a chance to start over again.
Mm.
Video's off. La 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 la. They could call me the meditation torturer or something. La 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 la, because I just keep starting over.
Mm.
All the time, start over. Every time somebody thinks they're done, start over. And then when they finally had it and there's no way they can do anymore, I'm like, what are you doing? I have no idea what you're doing. Why are you like thinking that there's something else more important? You don't understand much, huh? I mean, I'm struggling to do it, but very difficult for anyone to realize that now is the time that you're going to do this. It's not going to be another time. So just, do it now. La, 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 la. Look at all these things here, all these miracles. Baba Ji, Baba Ji. Where's the And the guru one is here. Where's the guru one? Extras, super crow regular? No. Well, that's Forbidden Planet. That's a great one. You hadn't know that one? Super core regular movies, documentaries. In week 1 and extras. Where's the guru folder for God's sake? Oh, right there. Classic guru movies. Look at this. Can you imagine? Are you kidding? Huh? La na la na 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 la na la na na la na la la. See what's over here. Haven't seen her in a while. If you have, 2 terabytes of
Hilda is
options,
a dedicated.
2 terabytes of options, what you do, you're going to be able to press play and learn more about how to get what you need. Like I know at 50 minutes of Jonathan Livingston Seagull is that clip. So you can go there. Look how many options.
Hey, that puts a heavy on me, doesn't it? I have a favorite story, and it must have whiskers, but I'm sure you all know it, but I'm going to say it anyway. Can you hear back there? Okay.
Is it screen sharing?
There was a voice came down from heaven,
Oops,
and it
sorry.
said, "Who is God?" The trees flowed and said, "I am." And the wind moaned and said, "I am." And the rocks trembled and said, "I am." And the voice from heaven came down and said, "Will the real I am stand up?" And the whole universe stood. And that's what the word interfaith means to me. And I'm so thankful, Rabbi Gelberman and all of you, that you asked me to come here to share. The interfaith is such a wonderful word. It's like an entwining to me. It's like an inner faith of all of us. It's, to me, it's like this. If a volcano goes up here, over here in another part of the world, an earthquake comes. I see underneath this molten mass is all one. It's only on this crusty outside that we have all separated into little beings and forget that we're one great part of the universe, many atoms. They asked me tonight to speak on harvest time, and as soon as they said that, all I heard was, "We are the harvest." 6,000 years we have been growing, and we have 17 more years to go till 2000 and the Aquarian age. And we better get ripened fast. Otherwise, we're not going to be plucked for the harvest. I feel that I have studied in the Orient for about 18, 20 years. I was over there milling around. I guess I was the original hippie. But I stayed with Muslims where they prayed 5 times a day. I stayed with Christians. I went to a church possibly every day there. I studied with a 160-year-old yogi. Hindus. I guess I did the works, but out of it all, when I came back, I found the only thing necessary. It's like everybody that goes up a path, they throw the ladder away and say, don't come the path I came.
Longer
Not
breath.
necessary. Go to India, not necessary. Unconditional love.
Naturally
The
longer.
only thing we need. The Kundalini will rise automatically if we have unconditional love. Everything will happen if we have unconditional love. And I tell you, to have unconditional love, you have to have a basis of integrity. They say the first chakra is survival, but after you've gone up, and the second one is bliss, not desire and sex, and the second one, and the third one is power, and the next one is love, and it goes on. But once Mother Kundalini has gone up and met her maker, the infinite love within us meets with that and it comes down, then we are bliss and unconditional love. Nothing can anger us, nothing can make us mad, and we are unconditional love. The foundation of integrity will take us through everything. I think every religion, I think whether it be Hinduism, whether it be the Jewish religion, whatever it is, has integrity at its basis. Every great teacher had integrity. It had ethics. I think Jesus taught ethics. Sai Baba teaches ethics. I think Moses taught ethics. We can go on. The prophets taught ethics. You have to have that. You have no foundation on this earth if you don't build up from the feet on up. Because when you go up and get a tremendous power in you and you have not cleaned up the basement, you're going to have a terrible reaction after. We see it all the time. When you get to the power center, you want power, you want airplanes, you want your disciples to give you money, you want big ashrams, you want everything. When you get here where you can slip down or slip up, if you haven't got purity, you slip down. And so this is a marvelous time on earth to me. It is simply, I don't know how to say how wonderful this time on earth is to me, because it is the beginning of the new age. The tribulation is already on. We only have to read the Post paper to know what's happening in the world. If you don't read the Post paper, you haven't lived yet. I suggest you go out and pay 30 cents and find out what's happening in our world. And even if you buy the Times paper, you're going to find out what's happening. It is unreal, unbelievable what degradation could go on in our world. And the only hope of it, my beloveds, is us. We are responsible for our little bit of the world. We are responsible for the space that God gave us, our body, our emotional body, our mental body, and the aura around us. If this aura goes wrong, we sit next to someone and we pollute them. We sit in a chair if we're depressed and someone sits after us and gets depressed. If we want the millennium, the Aquarian age that all you young people have sung about with all your glory, then you've got to get your own self in order. It will not come to pass unless we do it. And I was talking to Jack today, and he said this wonderful thing: if we do it here, automatically in another part of the world, it'll start, but it'll start where we are, not where we started. It's a wonderful, wonderful interlocked world. Interfaith is the word for this world, and the interlocking. To have integration upon this earth, you have to have quick adjustment to the outside world. You go downtown. I'll give you a wonderful example. I rarely go downtown, I really go shopping, but I went downtown and I went through one of those swinging doors. While I was in there, I decided to come out the other end. I decided I didn't want to go in that store, but it's so kabobbled, a woman at the other end, that she started this tremendous swearing at me. I've never heard such good words. I mean, I jotted a few down. She went on and on and on. She had been discabobbled And she could not swear enough words at me that I had not gone out that entrance and gone around and come out the door again. You have to have quick adjustment at every moment. Is it not so? If you get something out of this that really pleases you, will you please do this back there? Oh, good. There's a few hands going up. Hallelujah. That's great. It makes me so wonderful when I see a smiling face. I feel it's worthwhile. Vivekananda said if you can interest one person, it's worthwhile. When I see a hand here and a hand there, it makes us committed and alive. It's not me talking to you.
Okay. Video's on. What does bouncing, lengthening, bending mean?
I don't know.
Bouncing means bounce from different things. Don't become distracted. Try again. Put on Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind. Put on Hilda Charlton. I don't know. Just keep going. That's bouncing. Bouncing, extending. Keep extending your attention span. Make it longer. Stretch out time more. Bouncing, extending, bending is the overriding instruction for how to do the steps. Extending is a very unique thing. I'm asking that your attention span become extraordinarily absorbed just in being here, just in paying attention, not being distracted, not going to something else. If you put the time in now, if you allow me to lead you to lengthen your attention span extraordinarily, then you're going to come out the other end of it with life insight. One experience can change a person's life. People's destinies are transformed in one moment of experience. The practice of meditation, the practice of real spirituality, is finding moments that ripple. You'll notice that when you practice, you can have moments beyond body and mind where you're in the imagination, but to have embodied transcendental moments, that's very unique. That means this body, this mind, these people, this circumstance. And you have the receptivity of space itself. You have timelessness where there's just no sense of time at all. That, of course, is how creative genius insight is given. So it's a worthy investment of your time to make sure that at 4 a.m., at 9 a.m., at 7 p.m., whatever it is, you try again. Because if you can accumulate these moments that ripple, then your life changes from the inside out. But if you can't settle down, then life is going to bind you. So take this time to find naturalness of being again, find freedom again, to where you don't need anything to change. You forgot everything is actually wonderful right now as it is. You got this new place. Samosas are rocking. The job's okay. What were you in a panic about? It was a nightmare. Wake up. It's not real. Just takes one moment to do that. But it takes the devotion of your entire life to have these little moments. So that when you have these little moments, it can color your neurology. It can shape your mood, your attitude, your demeanor, your gestures, your listening skills, your speaking skills, your standing skills, your turning skills. Everything is a practice. Everything is a worship. Life is kind of singing right now, the celestial song. But we can't hear anything. But if you listen, you're going to hear the hum of the refrigerator. And that reflects the cosmic hum. But you're not aware of anything. You're lost in mental thought. And you're lost in dreaming. How am I going to figure out what happened at work? Was I wrong? Was he wrong? Should I shut up? Should I talk? You don't need to figure anything out. You need to relax. That's the duty of life from nature is telling you, with crackling fires and blowing winds and shimmering waters and twinkling stars. It's all telling you, we got this. Live and die in that faith. What are you going to do? Avoid death? So live and die in that faith. Have loss and have gain in that faith. Be wrong and be right in that faith. But still let the celestial song churn out your evolution. That means you're receptive. So all of environment is trying to come in and intercede for your karma. The whole of that environment, especially the landlord, former. Everybody you know, they have one purpose: to teach, to guide, to heal, but to calm down enough your mind, your face, and your body so that you can become receptive. It's something that we don't know how to do. It's something that we're too scared to do. So you could have structure about it, bouncing, lengthening, bending. If you can lengthen your attention span more and give up your future right now, it's amazing. People wait for years to go on one vacation. They come back from the vacation if it's a good vacation. All of these, oh, it's so great, and they're talking about it forever. And that's what they hang on their whole life. I went here, I went there.
Bless you.
Thank you. So if a vacation gets you to have alpha waves, you go to the airport, you get in the airplane, time slows down. You land, you get in the hotel room, you put your baggage, like go to the beach or something, wherever you are, Himalayas. You can finally relax. When you get done making the samosas, you can finally relax. When you get off of work, you can finally relax. No, now is the time to practice finally relaxing. Not at another time. Whatever the now is, that's the time that you can be in the flow. The flow is a current, and you just get into the current, the Tao. It's these people and these circumstances and this environment. Those are the miracle ingredients that create the miracle chamber. When you accept these sights and these sounds and these scents and these communications that are going on with your centers, and you find contentment and satiation with your senses, your centers, and your psyche, it's like you land in the vacation destination. So you practice doing that every time you're in a line, every time you get in a car, every time you make food, every time you go to the bathroom. You take a dip in the flow all the time, and you improve your capacities on 3 values: deep relaxation, high stimulation, and transcendence. Transcendence is the neutral place. It's the quantum field. You know, Einstein said the sole determining influence to the particle is the wave. That means when you're in the wave of seeing everything, the quantum possibilities are superimposition, which means there's all kinds of things going on. But the second you look or comment, you take a picture in time. You influence reality, quantum physics, science says, when you look at it. You can't look at an atom without influencing it. Non-local reality, Bell's theorem, superentanglement says everything's in the same place. So your boss is here. The next samosa event is here. It's all here. The landlord is not over there. That's because you're in a dream. And the event of going to mitigation or whatever is going to happen with that, it's not over there. It's right here. So if you're paying attention to what here, it gives you the power to prepare for when it physically manifests. Physical world is the last stop on a cycle of enlightenment. If you can perceive these people and these sights and these sounds right here, right now, and lengthen, bounce around for some great contact and follow instructions, lengthen, be conscious, don't go to sleep. Sleep, you dream. In the day, your mind is active with internal, external strategizing. When do you rest your mind? Calm your mind, be embodied, and see what's here. It'll all combine and combust. It'll create a change of atmosphere felt within and around your body that's air-like somebody suddenly turns the lights on in the room of your life. So good news will do that. Landing at a vacation destination will do that. A great bite of food can do that. Good sex could do that. What does it? How can you experience satiation now? Because if you do, and you have embodiment, you become solid in your personal presence, you become connected to the earth, rooted, grounded. If you do, then you're going to bend space-time. That means your physical presence has more personal gravity to it than a lot of other people and a lot of what's going on. So you're able to gain an advantage because you have a lot of personal gravity in your personal space. So whatever's in orbit around you, whatever's going on, it establishes proper boundaries. It pulls back and self-regulates. Whoever's thinking about you, whatever circumstances on you, if you can develop enough personal gravity, it gets into a proper orbit automatically, spontaneously. Because if you have a great sense of spaciousness and timelessness, then what happens with that spaciousness and timelessness is that people are uncomfortable in it and they pop. They overextend and they pull back and they self-regulate. So psychically, that's going on right now between you and everybody that's in your life. So you want to be humble and give the power where you're supposed to give the power, and you want to be confident and set people in proper orbits, whoever's supposed to be set in proper orbits to establish proper boundaries. You want to be submitted to wherever there's authority so that you can understand the education that's coming through them. And if you do it very properly, you'll be submitted to everyone. Because you're so spacious and so timeless that everything becomes an irreplaceable puzzle piece to the solution of being outside the box and in the zone. You can't be in the zone without being outside the box. You can't be outside the box without being in the zone. So stillness and dynamism function together. You begin to have no difference between the inner world and the outer world, the sleep state and the wake state. If you could be in the sleep state while you're talking, creative genius is automatic. That's a master. You don't have to do it when you're swinging a golf club, or when you're making food, or when you're being your host skill, or when you're whatever, DJing. You do it right now. Practice it with your personality, not through some medium. That's after you practice it with your personality. Then you can give the food, you can give the song. But first of all, it's got to be independent of circumstance. So you do all these things, and it's like a light, like a wind, it's like a grace, and you become very solid in your personal gravity. You have a lot of magnetism, a lot of gravity. Of course, then you can work with circumstances. But you got to know the rules of the game, extending time more now. Calming your mind, calming your brain, feeling into your body, feeling into the earth, feeling into the cows, feeling into the property. Because that's what's here. The sky's there, right? The ocean's over there, right? The mountain's over there, isn't it? So why do you want to do something else than this? Because if you can interrupt yourself and start over and do this more, that's the only way you're going to have a better tomorrow. You're not going to have a better tomorrow by staying stuck on go and by refusing to submit, be permeable, be receptive, be teachable, follow directions. Because the power of life is omnipresent. And it's only our unwillingness to participate in it, to engage it, to surrender to it, to let it flow through us, that's causing us problems in our engines. So where in your body is stuck and it's not permeable to life? Find out where that is. Tell the truth about it and feel it. So feel it emotionally. Where do you feel an emotional stuckness in your body? Feel that and surrender it. And find more earth. Rooting, blooming, pre-processing, printing. First step, catharsis. Second step, centering. Third step, darshan. Fourth step, rooting. Fifth step, blooming. Sixth step, pre-processing, printing. So once your third eye's open, meaning that you're seeing the subconscious relationship or whatever is going on in the moment, everybody's seeing things in their mind while they're talking to people, but they're unconscious. It goes on without their conscious awareness. If you're very calm, you have third eye open because you can see your subconscious processing at the same time you're talking to people. That's what it means, living third eye open. And the coalescence, the synthesis of that allows you to experience celestial communication or communication with wise sources, a Plato, an Aristotle, a Jesus, a Buddha. You know, if you have a great grandfather that was interesting to you or something, you're going to start communicating with that. Anybody you ever met that's interesting to you, you're going to communicate with. So you'll start to have connection in psychic space to something that is a little bit more tangible than just imagination. You don't want to go off in imagination. Masters don't dream, they don't imagine. That's only a catalyst to get you to direct experience. So if you imagine you're having a direct experience, or let me say it this way, if you're imagining that you're meeting with Plato, then you can have specific words, specific dialogue. Over time, that becomes a relationship, a personality. That's what it is, talking to God or talking to sages and saints. But I don't want you to be Metatron and all this woo-woo stuff. I want it to be very concrete, specific people that you can reference books and you can say Buddha said this and Jesus said that. Because with those teachings, there's polarity. With the woo-woo stuff, there's no polarity. You're Joan of Arc and there's no problems. It's all in your mind. And there's no grit because the dissociativeness lets people release their pain. So it's necessary on some level, but you need real teachers, authentic masters, verifiable lineages. So if time extends, if you're sitting with Yoda and you know all the words he said in the Star Wars film and you create this relationship, that's the workshop of the mind, the imagination, to create tangible things. If you imagine an airplane, you can work it out and sketch it. So the imagination is just a catalyst to then have concrete behavioral applications. And it's simple. How do I listen? How do I speak? How do I move? How do I eat? How do I sleep? That's all. You don't need to have many things. And as far as the outside world and jobs and all that, that's just pure duty. There's not much cognition about it. Like you were saying earlier about certain things. You can just be on automatic. All your thought is just because you're trying to get something extra. No, you're there for $20 an hour. That's it. They don't want any mentoring or anything. They want your service. So it's just a duty. It's like sweeping the floor. There's not really much logic about it. If you start thinking about it and put logic in it, you just mess things up. The owner of that thing and that guy is not interested in anything other than you taking the people to the table. the people that buy the samosa, they're not interested in anything much at all. Unless you get to, communicate a little is okay. But basically they want to buy the food and they want to eat it. So it's not really complicated. We complicate it, by thinking that that's going to be our source of enlightenment. Are talking to people while we sell the samosas. That's part of it. That's nice. But no, they just they were there to get some food. And the people that go to get hosted to be sat down, they're there to eat food. And the guy that runs the restaurant, he's got a kid and he's got a thing. He doesn't want to hear one word from you. He wants you to show up and do the host and look nice and not have a bad attitude and go home. He doesn't want to have anything. He's not there to raise you. So the people that are raising you are these Aristotles and these Platos. Now, as I belabor the issue, I know I'm going on, but I'm doing the best that I can to make your amount of time to do with darshan, to do with finding how you're going to just calm down and release everyone, everything, everywhere, not a worry in the world. It's like go to sleep, but it's conscious sleeping. The more that this is extended, the better your tomorrow is. The less time this is, the worse your tomorrow is. So what should you do with today? You should start over again. Video's off. And then tell me when I'm going to get in trouble and I have to stop. But
I have to plug in the charger or it's gonna die
Where's the charger
Yes.
at?
over there.
Is it gonna even reach?
You got 4%.
Is it
Just have to
gonna-
move it.
Move it where?
Move the computer to the charger.
Okay. It'll,
4%. There you go. You got it.
this is nice.
Yeah, there you go. It's charged up. It's just doing it.
Listen to this one.
In your 40 years of mediating conflicts between warring factions around the world, what's the most important thing that you do that creates peace between the people involved?
First, I never hear what they think. See, I get called a lot of names by people who hear what I'm saying. I see you've read my book, you probably can recall I was in a refugee camp in Palestinian Authority, and what all the crowd had to do was hear from my interpreter that I was an American, and a gentleman jumps up and screams at me, murderer, and another one jumps up, assassin, and another one calls child killer. Within an hour, the guy that called me a murderer invites me to a Ramadan dinner at his house. I didn't hear what he thought of me. I connected to what he was feeling, what he was needing. As I walked into that refugee camp, there were hundreds of tear gas grenades all over the lawn, shot in the night before when they had a riot there. And on the side of each of the grenades was written, "Made in USA." So when this guy calls me murderer, hearing that I'm an American, I tried to hear, what is the guy feeling? And I said, "Sir, are you furious?" And then I tried to hear his need.
Release more stress, heavier body, longer breath.
My country than you're getting. And he looks at me in a kind of a stunned way. Apparently that's not the way people respond to him usually when he screams at them. He said, "You're damn right. We don't have sewage. We don't have housing. Why are you sending these weapons?" So I said, "Well, then that makes it clear why you'd be so aggravated. If you don't have these basics and you get these weapons sent over here, I can see that your needs are for some other kind of support." He said, "Do you know what it's like to live under these conditions for all these years?" I said, "So you're likely to understand just how desperate it can be even for one day, let alone for many years." So I heard what was alive in the guy, not what he thought I was, a murderer. I didn't say I ain't killed anybody. I tried to hear what was going on in him. And when he trusted that I sincerely cared what he was feeling, what he was needing, he could start to hear me then when I said, "Look, I'm frustrated right now because I came a long way to be here. I want to offer something. And I'm worried now that because you got me labeled as an American, you ain't going to listen to me." He said, "What do you want to say to us?" So he could hear me then. And we have a school there now, one of the schools that we call a nonviolent communication school in that refugee camp. And whenever I go to that region, I'm well received hospitably in that refugee camp. But I had to see the human being behind the names that he was calling me.
Being called the name is not the same as being violently attacked by terrorists. Do you feel that there is ever justification in using violence or aggression when responding to such an attack?
Here, I would say no to violence or aggression, yes to the protective use of force. There are times when we need to use the protective use of force, but never violence and never punishment. The protective use of force is necessary when another person, for whatever reason, is not willing to communicate, and meanwhile, their actions are threatening our needs. So we need to take whatever action can be made to protect against that happening. But we can do that without violence. Gene Sharp's writings show how throughout history, people have defended against even armies and violent armies coming at them through the protective use of force. I was walking down a street in Paris about 4 years ago, a busy street, and a woman was walking next to me. All of a sudden, a man comes running up, spins her around, and hits her right in the face, and he starts for her again. Well, there wasn't time for me to talk with this man, so I used force to restrain him from doing that again. I didn't want to punish him. I didn't beat him, but I had sufficient force that I could keep him from continuing. So yes, times you use force to prevent violence, but not in the form of punishment to make people suffer because you have judged them as evil.
But just talking to terrorists and the governments who harbor them doesn't seem to work either. Look at all the peace talks we've had, and the violence just continues.
Well, the kind of peace talks we have, I'm not very optimistic that they can prevent violence. They're not the kind of connections that get people connected with each other's humanness. They're basically arguments, and that they try to find some compromise. We need to grow up and find out that there are far more powerful ways of having peace talks than the ones we now engage in.
How would you engage these people in peace talks?
Pretty much as I told you I did with the tribes in Africa, or when I've done, I was doing a little mediation between a group of Israelis and Palestinians in Jerusalem. And I started that. I said, let's look at what your needs are that are not getting met. And a Mukhtar, who was a mayor of a village, he looked across at the Israelis and said in a nice tone, does it bother you people to be acting like Nazis? And then a woman jumps up, an Israeli woman jumps up and immediately says, I should have known better than to come to this meeting. That was a totally insensitive thing for you to say, Mukhtar. And she starts for the door. She's about to leave. We have hardly had 2 sentences and people are already worse off than we began. So my role there was to help each connect at the need level. So I said to the Mukhtar, and I knew what he was reacting to. He was reacting to a law that enabled the people to be put in prison for 6 months on suspicion. He was reacting to that. I said, Mukhtar, are you needing some understanding of how your need for safety isn't met with that law? He said, that's what I'm trying to say. Well, of course, he didn't say it exactly that way. And then I helped the woman to hear that. And then it was a different connection than when she's hearing that she's a Nazi. And so that's what I do in those cases. I help people speak a language of life, which is closer to the truth, just what everybody needs, and stay away from these enemy images that can easily sound like blame, criticism, attack. And unfortunately, most people aren't taught the language that I'm suggesting, so I have to loan it to them when I do mediations at that level.
Considering the amount of violence in the news, what do you say to those who describe your ideas as naive or utopian?
I see a different world than the people probably do on the television and in the news. For example, I see the violence. I work in the places with the violence, but what they don't see are the people that I work with who have a different worldview. They have a different consciousness, and these people are spreading their consciousness rapidly. So these people are what give me the hope. but they're not hard to find in every country. For example, Father Chris Rajendran, a priest in Sri Lanka. He's doing incredible things there, using our training to get the both sides that have been at war to do reconciliation work. He has an orphanage of kids that have been orphaned by the war from both sides, and he's showing these kids now how to relate to each other in a different way. So in many countries now, I'm working in about 35 countries, and I see that kind of person every day in my work. So I see a different world than the people see on the television. I'm not naive. I see the suffering. I was in a refugee camp not long ago in Sierra Leone, and I was working with a French physician was accompanying me on this trip. And when the director of the refugee camp heard that she was a doctor, he said, "Would you come with me? There's this child that's not very well." And I followed her over, and she was leaning over the child and the mother. And I said, "Pascal, what's the matter?" She said, "The baby's dying of starvation." I said, "Why?" She said, "The mother's dying of starvation." And I turned to the refugee camp leader and I said, "Why is this woman starving?" He said, "Well, why is this child starving?" He said, "We lose 7 a day." You see? So I've seen this. I'm not naive. I know what's going on. I worked in Rwanda, the people that have had everybody in their family killed. So I know what can happen in this world. But I'm working with people all over the world that tells me it doesn't have to be that way. There's people who have survived all of that and never lost a consciousness that isn't what our nature is. There's nothing we human beings like more than to contribute to one another's wealth.
Yes. Videos on.
I like that guy.
Is he great?
Yeah.
What happens is you get more stuff that comes up. So you become more anxious. And what I'm telling you is stop it and start over. Put on another thing. Go outside. Do something that where you can continue this direction of deepening meditation. You see how bouncing works? How does bouncing work for you?
Yeah, now I see what bouncing is. I see.
Different things and stuff releases and you begin to fart.
You know, it's interesting that I wouldn't coincide bouncing with extending the attention span, but now I feel
Yes.
my attention span got longer.
Yes. So I have to trick you to extend your attention span because I have to trick myself. The tricking function is very, very big part of it. What's the source of thought? Nasal airflow. It's a bunch of leverages, bunch of pulleys and levers and strings. So what you do is bouncing. Then you go to the next thing and bounce it and lengthening. Now, how long can you make your attention span? How long can you make your breath? We didn't even start. You have to be conscious with samadhi. You can't go over there and be alone with samadhi. You have to do it with people. That's the only bonding there is between people.
You remind me of
When
that
you
quote.
take the responsibility.
You remind me of the quote that I have. The only greatness comes with oneness with God and oneness with the people.
Yeah. So the oneness that I'm seeking with you is your true nature inside yourself. I don't know about all the other mind and jobs and mimosas. That's just something to sort through until I can find you. So then when I can find you, we're in the same place and there's no time. But I have to sort through the eyes and the ears and the psyche and the centers and the senses. So you have to do that. But how are you going to do it unless you're receptive? Unless the rule is bouncing, lengthening, bending. What's bending?
bending, no, maybe accepting others, being open-minded.
Bending is bending space-time.
Bending space-time.
You become so heavy, so rooted, so grounded where you are, you feel invincible. You're immovably rooted. All the masters talk about these things. Every student of this, the shaman, African shaman in the woods, the Christian prayer warrior, the Tibetan mantra chanter, they all begin with chanting something and they bounce around. They do singing, they do scripture, they do chanting. And then as they go on, the shaman in the woods, time extends. And their process causes a trance. When they get into that trance, they drop body mind. And they become very heavy. To become very heavy and very rooted here where you are means you have to be abandoned and alone. Because now you're no longer depending on the internal, external stimulus. You're just with the earth and the sky. You touch the earth comes up. You touch the sky comes down. You become a microcosm of the environment because you're in contact with it all. So you're more weighty, you got more magnetism. Gravity, dynamism, magnetism, that's what creates the orbits. The mass of the planet or the mass of you. Like if you feel more weighty, that's more mass. If you accept more electromagnetism because you become totally surrendered to the other person. Totally surrendered. You'll find that as you practice this, that's opposite of anything that you want to do. You think you want to be totally surrendered, but that's just trying to get something. To actually be totally surrendered, submitted, lesser than the other person, the environment, the universe, everybody. Abandoned, alone. Now all the power is going to go down through your body. It's going to touch the earth. You're going to become rooted. And when you become rooted, you're going to find the earth. And you're not going to want to peek out. You're not going to want to bloom. You're going to want to rest because you went through all this stuff. You can finally rest. Because this is all transparent because you have no objectified comment on anybody or anything. The outside world is only surrendered to. The outside world is primarily people. So what if people is a mosaic or a movie picture run by God to heal you? Are you receiving the movie? So whoever accepts more is the one that gets the gravity, is the one that gets the magnetism, is the one that gets the permission to bloom and entrain and be in control and have a say. But you don't do it for that. You just totally surrender. You totally surrender. And your body gets heavier. Yukteswar said, Yogananda said when he saw Yukteswar, his feet were immovably rooted. You have a certain stance sometimes or a certain seat sometimes where you feel very, very heavy, magnetic, gravitational. You feel very solid. Sometimes you're doing the host thing, you're doing the samosa thing, and you're like invincible. You can see everybody and you got such roots that somebody comes in, you can feel them, you can work with it. That's the bloom. That's the branches on the tree. But your root was established. That's what makes the branches of the tree be able to dance with environment. Or the wave, the ocean, it responds to the winds, but the ocean itself is phenomenal. It's like the sleep state. It's like the quantum field. It's like it's something that's beyond what you can see. So you're the ocean and you respond to people like the waves responding to the wind. Or you got the roots because you surrender to the sunlight and the cosmic light and the rain, and you seeded down and you broke ground and you found the earth. When you found the earth, power came up. And that power came up, you said, ooh, there's a mountain over there.
Mm.
And gosh, there's so many things. But you see it all as a mosaic, and you don't grab at anything. And now somebody will engage you, they'll say something, then you can respond. So rooting leads to blooming. Blooming means you start to face people, because the ocean's bigger than who you're talking to. And you can only lose or get so much from somebody. It's not worth it losing yourself to try to get it. The ocean, the mountain, the lava, the Mount Everest, the real masters, the Wudang Mountain, the Amajis. Give yourself to connection with these. Bear fur, running lions, screaming eagles. This is all here, if you can see, if your third eye is open. So then you get the sensual and sensory nourishments, because you're connected to the trees of the cows right now while you're talking to me. That's being awake. So now your bloom gives you power. So now somebody just a little bit of the door in the restaurant, they come in. You see it 50,000 miles away, because you're rooted. You're not frenetic. So you try again to find these steps and to get a little more rooting, get a little more blooming. And you make your way to pre-processing. That means that you've done this in your personal time. And now you know you're going to do that event. You know you're going to think about the chopper again. You know that you're going to go to the job again, and you're going to interact with the boss. So he's distracted right now. The other vendors are distracted right now. They don't have this kind of clarity. I don't believe it. So you can have an edge. You can have an angle by seeing them, by seeing him, by seeing them, it there, and beginning to surrender to them. Start the cycle over again with catharsis by them being the teacher, by the market being the teacher, and so forth, and start the whole cycle over again. This is pre-processing and printing. So that as you go through these steps with them in mind now for external engagement, not for internal meditation. The second 3 steps are for external engagement. First 3 steps are for internal transcendence. So now, from a supported place, insight, intelligence, all these things going on, you can see, oh, this vendor, oh, this person, this. And you just see yourself as the only thing that is changeable. You don't try to change anybody or teach anybody. I'm going to adapt to the marketplace. I'm going to put on Indian music. I'm going to adapt to the guy. I'm going to take 5 minutes and be totally submitted next time I see him. Just be like, yep, yeah, you're right. And I got this. And, you're going to change it. You have a new angle. You have new insight. So that requires conflict. Conflict is often something that puts people in shock, but it doesn't need to be that way. You can enjoy conflict.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
So like being at the markets, this happens, well, it happens. So I just want to check in. So I'm at the market. This happened maybe about a month ago. I haven't called her yet. So I'm talking during the market and so forth. And this girl comes and we end up having a conversation, and she's sharing with me what's going on. And she knows I do SR. I do my 12 stages of healing. I do sessions with people when they come up. I haven't been really marketing it. In conversation, and she's like, you know what? I want to do a session with you. Oh she's like, I really want to do a session with you. What do you do? And I'm like, this, and this, but, and so like that, it's not me looking to teach. And I stopped to call her to set it up because with moving and everything hasn't happened. So that's something that's a byproduct, and that's like a natural flow. And when she comes in, it's, I use the 5s, the 10s, I combine different things, but really my job is to ground them, not get them in la la land, and so that happens. So that, I guess it's not like a permission thing, but to me that's a natural flow, and that's okay. I'm not trying to teach or anything. It's just happening.
Don't worry about it.
The girl at the coffee shop too. She's like, hey, I want to do another session with you. I want to sign up for a month.
Don't worry about it. Just go ahead and realize that you can be specific about having something to offer, like the samosa, and you get the $5 or whatever. and then move on. Go-
Okay.
So you could be, 5 sessions, 3 sessions, 5 sessions, 7 sessions, make a package. Usually I charge $1,000 for this,
Mhm.
or whatever you want to say. Mine's 2,500 as the lowest thing for 7 sessions. You can say whatever. It's not a game. It's not a manipulation. You're not trying to just get something. This is a process that's like waterfall coming into you, and you're able to give it out, and you should be supported.
Okay.
And you should be given money onto. The best thing a rich person could ever do is give me their money. So I'm after it. Who's a rich person with money? Give it up. Best thing they could ever do. So I have no guilt at all. So don't worry about it. Don't lie, don't manipulate, don't whatever. Just be genuine and be like, if the person has no money, okay, that's a different story, and whatever, you work with everything, but you must make yourself valuable.
That's good to hear you say that, because there's somebody else
Can't
that's
say
working.
$20 a session and stuff, because people's
Somebody
brains,
that I've
the
been
most
working
important
with.
thing is money, so.
Yeah, and Jeannie also, but a few other people have told me that I need to charge more, so it's like, okay, 150 per session minimum. And that
Yeah,
could be more
that's the
depending on what happens, so.
And then if they have no money and if they dance, you get blessed. So it's fine.
Okay.
Because the main thing that has to happen is you have to get healed. So like for me, I teach anybody, right? And if I'm able to do this process, I get healed. So how am I going to lose? So as long as you get healed with any decision you make, as long as you're getting healed, you're making the good decision. And then as far as, how much money are you worth and whatever, you're worth a diamond planet. So, nobody can give you what you're worth. You're worth everything. So, yeah. Yeah. And then can I give you one little suggestion?
Mhm.
Especially as now, as you establish this, or maybe you'll establish this as part of your thing. You've got a lot of people, access to a lot of people, and you can just have a little card there. I do healing sessions or whatever. Just make it specific for some time. In other words, first, if let's say you're doing 7 sessions, you can last 7 sessions, don't worry. So 1 hour, maybe. First 3 sessions, we're going to work on core wounds and just develop, you're going to do breathing. And then the next time you do yoga instead of just breathing. And then the next time you do the Qigong thing, and mix it up. Keep people interested like I do with the push play on different things, bouncing. And then make sure that it results in advanced meditation, no matter what you're doing, that you get to the place of profound relief and stillness and natural pauses and sighs of relief, we hope. And then you make it specific. So the second 3 sessions, we're going to work on what do you want to work on? Energy medicine. I'm going to give you an energy treatment. And I'm going to channel Flipper for you. Maybe the next session.
I'll call Anthony in for that part.
He's the massive. He's
I've
really
witnessed it before. It freaked me out.
good. Did you?
Yeah.
So energy healing and, specific. Just make it at 7 hours. Make 7 hours and make them specific, because you're going to start getting erratic around the second session, and you're going to start thinking you're not good enough, or you don't know what to do, or whatever. That's just silly. You have all you got to do is do what I do. Just be yourself and talk about your interests. You got interest in yoga, you got interest in Sikhism, you got interest in energy healing, you got interest in channeling. You got so many interests. Just share what works for you. And then you're just irrefutable, because the magnetism comes through. But if you're trying to prove yourself, you're trying to get something, it won't work. But if you're freely sharing, and then you're like, yeah, give me some money, that's okay, but just be free about it, and be honest, and be receptive, and be honoring. And the best advice I could give you, because I've done this a long time, and I used to do it in terms of making money very, very successfully financially, as I mentioned, maybe $170,000 a year. And all I did was try to go out and make a sale. That's the only thing I did. And I didn't have any big marketing or anything. I would just show up at some groups and I would sell somebody. Real complicated. And that was $170,000 a year. So just for being successful, my advice would be just 7 hours and make it a cookie cutter. Like my 7 sessions, if I'm encouraged to do it, like if somebody really wants to learn and they're not going to go on I don't know that they're going to be with me for years or a long time where I can just do whatever and they get it after a while, but it's just like a movie picture. Well, then one session is going to be Zen and the next session is going to be Qigong, like in the beginning.
Mhm.
Another session will be my books and another session will be, whatever. And every session is like, it's like a movie picture and it's really fun. And it has a send off at the end and sign up and all that. Just make 7 session cookie cutter.
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you.
So we gotta go.
Oh, I had one of those moments just now when you said something. I don't know if I put it correctly, but see myself as the only thing that is changeable. No need to change anyone. Conflict is a natural part of process.
Yeah, that's good stuff. And listen, that is all after the meditation. On the way into the meditation, like what we did in the beginning, that's the primary concern. How can I relax? How can I enjoy the crow of the chicken, the rooster, I mean? And how can I have no thought? So today, now and then, just for 10 seconds, have no thought here and there, okay?
Mhm.
Okay,
Tell me about the chopper.
thank
Will
you.
do. Thank you so much.